Welcome to the Slow Smoked Pigskin podcast. I'm Darren.
And I mean Drew. And this is
our podcast.
What are you doing? You're not Aaron.
You're not Drew.
I think we should go.
That was weird, right?
Yeah, it was.
Anyways, I'm Aaron.
I'm Drew.
And this is our podcast.
Subscribe.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 41 of the Slow Smokes Pigskin podcast. That's Drew. I'm Aaron. So, week 9 in the NFL happened. This week's winner, Adrian, got his second win of the season. I feel like that boy either goes off or doesn't show up at all. He's never in the middle.
Go big or go home.
Exactly. He had 180.2 points on a max of 189. So with that, he was the most efficient manager and the highest overachiever. I think he was 60-something% over. I forgot the number. I lost it. Of how over his projected, which that'll help you win a week. We
had spoken about something like this before with these metrics that Sleeper gives us, and I want to say he's pretty close to like the perfect week. Minus like he didn't set his most optimal lineup, and which he missed, but he got the biggest blowout. He got the overachiever. He got the most efficient. Like, he had a really good week.
It's a really good week. Actually, it's ironic. I have another sleeper league, and a guy actually, it's a little bit different because it's only 5 bench spots and a couple of flexes. So you don't have a ton of options anyways, but he set his perfect lineup. I thought it was funny that we talked about that.
Yeah.
Our first matchup, so Adrian's matchup, with his 180 points against Josh, who only had 109.89. I guess he's dropping his weight class now.
He's living up to his height.
So now he had a max of 130, so it wouldn't mattered a whole lot. He was led by Rico Dowdle. Did you see Dowdle's touchdown catch?
No.
Oh, dude. He went up to catch the ball. He didn't catch it, and then he fell down on his back, and then the ball he basically landed on top of him to get a touchdown. That being said, Rico Dowdle has not seemed impressive. The Cowboys, running back and offense as a whole, which is a whole nother issue. But Rico Dowdle's actually I think he's 2 receiving yards behind Jahmyr Gibbs for how many receiving yards for a running back. He's actually, when he's played, he's actually been better than you think. And
what happened with Zeke?
I actually haven't
disciplinary something.
I heard there was a disciplinary thing, and so he was inactive. Who cares? He's old.
No, it is. But I was just,
it's just so.
We talked about Rico. I was like, oh, wait a second. What about Zeke? But yeah.
Anyways, so Josh,
they can suck.
Oh, they're bad. Like I said this.
Have you seen
the season that I did not expect big things from them? I'm pretty confident on this podcast. I probably said I wouldn't be shocked if they don't make the playoffs.
No, we've talked about it plenty of times.
Yeah,
too much. Too much.
So Josh also led by Devontae Adams, who finally had a decent day getting back with Aaron Rodgers. Adrian led by the number 1 wide receiver on the week, Jackson Smith and Jigba, with 34.5 points. He had a big day. And then Ramondre Stevenson, if I remember correctly, had 2 touchdowns rushing, even though I think he had 2 touchdowns, but 34 yards. It was some absolutely disgusting stat line that I was like, are you for real? I'm sorry. Here we go. 10 carries, 16 yards, and a touchdown. And then 5 receptions for 38 and another touchdown.
Hey, man, that's very similar to what Brian Robinson does when he just gets to the goal line and gets a couple of touchdowns and gets me some points. Hey, that's you playing the game.
Yeah. Josh got let down by Kyler Murray, who's continuing a bunch of his disappointing season with only 4.76 points on a projection of 18. And then Adrian, I mean, his biggest letdown was that Dalton Schultz only had 3.6, but who's expecting a whole lot from Dalton Schultz these days?
Exactly.
Like, no.
No.
When you watch Dalton Schultz, he looks like one of the slowest people on the field. It is ridiculous.
What do we have? Bench heroes. Bench hero for Josh. He left Austin Eckler on his bench. Got him about 16 and a half points. Adrian had Jatavian Sanders, which would have, I think, made his lineup perfect, if I'm not mistaken, at 10.7 points.
Probably pretty dang close. If
would have gotten close, but I mean, again, who's gonna? You're not gonna start that guy. Injuries. T. Higgins was out in the game and is listed as doubtful for this week with a quad again. Deontay Foreman, he just was a healthy scratch, so maybe he's very low on the pecking order.
I mean, Chubb's there. I think Jerome Ford's healthy again. Pierre Strong is a pass catching back. So Deontay Foreman's the bruiser, and they've already got Chubb. So, like, T. Higgins is a real interesting situation right now because the Bengals definitely don't look as good without him, which would be like justification for him to get a contract because, you know, he's playing on the franchise tag. However, the fact that he keeps freaking missing games is why they don't want to sign him long term.
Right.
So I heard he's a potential. Oh wait, I forgot the trade deadline passed already. But I heard he was discussed. Obviously didn't happen.
No.
So, all right, our next matchup: Neil with 130.11, Jason Smith with 104.57. Now, man, Jason, he's just fallen off rapidly. I mean, injuries and some other things have just absolutely crushed him.
Yeah.
Neil could have gotten up to 166. Jason's best roster would have been 122. Neil led by Devon Achane with 28.1 points. So it's been interesting since Tua came back. Hill and Tyreek and Waddle still haven't been great. They've been better, but Devon Achane has been going off since Tua returned. You know, Tua's, I guess maybe he's just learning to get the ball out quicker and dump it off to his dynamic young running back.
We'll save his head by handing the ball off to the running back.
Yeah.
Or dumping it.
Yeah. And then Jason, you know it's going to be a good day for your team when your leading scorer is DeMarcus Robinson. Now, I say that in jest because DeMarcus Robinson actually had 24.4 points with, I believe, 2 touchdowns. Wasn't this like 2 weeks in a row with 2 touchdowns for him? But so he had a good day. And then Darnell Mooney with 17.3, who's been having a great season. I think he's a top 12 wide receiver on the season right now. And
his name keeps coming up.
And I'm jumping ahead a little bit to somebody else's matchup, but Drake London is questionable. So if Drake London ain't playing, Darnell Mooney is a smash start. So,
and I mean, Robinson got a little bit better option, I think, because Puka wasn't playing. So
because Puka thought it's a good idea to punch a helmet. Why is punching a helmet ever a good idea?
I got a theory about this whole thing that we can solve this in the NFL. We'll talk about it later on when we get to the news.
Okay, fair enough. Busts. Neil got let down. Keon Coleman, only 5.6 points. I didn't see it. I guess he dropped a touchdown pass on the play where he got hurt or something. I don't know. I missed the details. And then Jason Dak didn't have a terrible, I mean, like 12 fantasy points isn't a good day, but that's not like crushing your team.
No.
But it's definitely.
But his team wasn't projected to do very well to begin with.
Right.
So,
fair.
But yeah, and he got hurt and didn't play, I think, at least half the game or something like that. So.
No, I think it was at least a quarter. I don't think it was a full half.
Okay. But for their bench heroes, Neil could have started Quentin Johnston, got him 20 points. And Jason could have started Joshua Palmer to get him a few more points with 13. But either way, it wouldn't have mattered. Injuries, like we just said, Dak was a hamstring. I read that it's a partial tear off the bone.
Oh.
He's also getting a second opinion, and if hamstrings are lingering, it's going to be a problem the rest of the season. He might be out, especially with the way that they have no chance of doing anything this year. Like, he might be out.
Definitely heard potential IR. I haven't heard anything ending season yet, but you just paid the guy $60 million a year. How badly do you want to hurt him if the team can't do anything?
Yeah. Noah Fant he has a bye week, so he should be back, but he's out. He was out with a groin for this last week. And CMC is practicing again, so maybe we see a CMC sighting before the end of the season.
He's supposed to be back this week. They're coming off the bye, and supposedly, so
that was the plan.
One of the biggest question marks is what workload did he get? Because we know Christian McCaffrey is really good, but he has always done a lot with his touches, but the reason he was always the number one was because in addition to doing a lot with his touches, he got a ton of touches, playing 90+% of snaps. And so a guy who's missed 9 games, you want to bring him back and put him in for 90 snaps?
No, we're going to bring him back, and they have running backs. Like, it's not like they need to put him, and they're going to get him some touches, and they're going to work him into the playoffs. And come playoff time, he'll be more 100% and, able to make it. I wouldn't start him week 1.
Yeah. All right, next matchup, Raph, who was our least efficient manager with only 109.97, against Steve, who didn't win the week, but still had another good one with 165.06. That being said, Raph could have gone up to 159.77, which still wouldn't quite beat him. Steve could have put up just short of 175. Steve, he's getting 50 points a week from Saquon and Derrick Henry. It is what it is. Anyways, Raph was led by DeAndre Hopkins, who had 2 touchdown passes on Monday night. It's if he's going to be a happy target for Patrick Mahomes around the end zone, that could be big things for D-Hop.
He's got Velcro for hands. You can throw it wherever you want.
Oh, my God.
Keep him healthy. Don't let him get hit. And
there was one catch I remember watching him. He was basically in the middle of 3 defenders, went up, caught the ball with just hands. It was that was pretty.
Yeah.
Steve, as I just mentioned, okay, we're going to name 4 players, and if I do the math very quickly here, we're just at about 100 points. Saquon Barkley with 31.4, Derrick Henry with 24.8, Garrett Wilson finally had a big day as well with 25.5, and Cortland Sutton, 1 or 2 weeks after having 0, had 19.28. All that being said, all of those points shouldn't matter, and Saquon should get extra style points.
Absolutely.
Because he's running, and then he did a spin, and then somehow he ended up backwards towards where you're supposed to be running, so he just jumped backwards over another professional football player.
Everybody else is hurdling players going forward.
Yeah.
He's that's too easy. Yeah, I'm going to hurdle you going backwards.
How do you even hurdle somebody going backwards? How do you know where they are to jump over them? It's magical. I think he sold his soul to the devil. That's why
he might have been looking up at the screen and was I got a chance out of it.
I like
Have you seen, I saw the image from the sideline behind where everybody's watching. His faces on everybody. Was
his
just
teammates.
I cannot believe what, that's.
Yeah, was that real?
Right? It's
life?
Video game-esque. Come on.
Insane.
Yeah. That's definitely carrying. I knew King Henry was going to be good, especially he was going to get his points going to Baltimore, but I did not expect this at all.
He's the number 1 running back. He's got
1 and 2.
Yeah,
consistently week after week, and then he throws in a few
he's got.
Really
don't get me wrong.
points.
Steve's got some good wide receivers too that are doing some good stuff.
Exactly.
but like he's just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Those two. I mean, yeah. Anyways,
I'm done
all
talking
right.
about Steve. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, enough of that. Busts. Steve had a bust. AJ Brown only put up 4.6 points for him, but that's not as bad as Raph, who got a goose egg from Cole Kmet. Like the Bears are very inconsistent, which I guess you kind of expect with a rookie quarterback. But it's like some weeks they look awesome, and some weeks they look like garbage.
Yeah.
So
agreed. Raph could have started Cade Otton and gotten some points out of his tight end, who he's been consistent, especially now that everybody else is out. He's the only person that
exactly
like start him.
They lost. Well, I mean, Mike Evans will be back soon, but
I think they've got a bye week this week.
Yeah,
if I'm not
or maybe
mistaken.
it's next week.
Next week, yeah,
or it's one of these weeks coming up.
Correct. He's got a couple weeks before Mike Evans is back, but even then, like, oh, now you've got that in your back pocket, Baker. Like,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
Steve could have started Zach Bond. Got him another 14.5 points. If I'm not mistaken, he's the defensive player. He's a linebacker.
Yeah, he was.
I would have given him like 7 more points on his week. I'm not.
Yeah, it was a linebacker for the Eagles who I've never heard of, who Steve didn't play, and then Steve dropped him this week after he put up 14.5 points. What? I don't get it.
Injuries. We have Isaiah Likely is out again this week with a hamstring. DK Metcalf, he's on a bye week this week, but he's listed.
He's missed 2, so
yeah. But I think that they're expecting him to be back after the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Brown did leave the game, which is why he didn't score as many points because they kept feeding him the ball. But he's day-to-day with a knee. I would expect him to play, but keep an eye on that. I did see Baker listed on the injury report with a toe. He didn't practice, but I think Baker's going to play if Baker can play. No. We already mentioned Drake London. There's another typo.
Yeah.
With a hip, he left the game. He's only listed as questionable.
Yeah, I don't know if he'll be back.
You gotta wait till it gets a little bit later in the week. Pittman, who's been nursing a back injury all week, he was sidelined today. I think that's just precautionary to get him ready for the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like 3 weeks ago, they were talking about him potentially going on IR with that back injury. Mm-hmm. So I think that's just going to be going on for a little bit. So yeah. All right, next matchup. Drew got the lucky reward, which is the lowest points in a win with 109.3 versus Eddie, who was the biggest underachiever with 83.8. So Eddie's back to his under 100 for the week.
I tried really hard not to win, but Eddie tried harder.
Sure did. Exactly. Somehow there was booms in this game. Your biggest player was Roma Dunze with 12.9.
I mean,
that's a lie. That's a lie. Your top scorer was Tyler Bass with 13.
Thank you.
I didn't read that right.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, no, I was excited to put Roma Dunze in there because he finally did something, but my team sucks.
Yeah. Eddie with Zach Moss looking like Zach Moss is on IR and probably done for the season. Chase Brown has been taking more and more of the playing time anyways. I believe he had 2 touchdowns, 24.2 points. Obviously, with scores this low, I would have expected more busts listed here, but we only got a couple. Kyron Williams with
It's not worth it to talk about.
This must have been Kyron's worst week of the season so far. He only had 9 points. Yeah. And honestly, when 9 is your floor, I'll take it. It's bad, but there's a lot who did a lot worse. And then Jordan Love playing in the rain with, his groin injury, only 4.92 points for Eddie. So, yeah.
I could have started Mike Gesicki and gotten 24.5 points, which I'm on. The Raiders are on a bye week, so Bowers is out. Cool. He's going to get 3 points this next week. Maybe.
The only thing about that I'll say is with T. Higgins out and Yoshi Bosch isn't great, and Jermaine Burton didn't get to play, the rookie who had some promise, because apparently, everyone was excited for him to show up and this rookie get a chance with T. Higgins out. I guess he showed up to the facility on Saturday in pajama pants and skipped the walkthrough. And it's if you remember, Jermaine Burton fell a little bit in the draft, and the reason why was off the field concerns. And so he ruined what could have been a perfectly good opportunity. But the point of that was that with these players out, they kind of used Gesicki like a slot receiver, and it could continue if T. Higgins is out again.
It worked last week. Hopefully it works this week.
Yeah, sorry.
Eddie could have started the Colts, got him almost 18 points, and kudos to Eddie's draft, because he's had a couple of his top performers have been on his taxi squad. He had Trey Benson with 13 points. That's all I can say about that. Just that week after week, his best players are on his taxi squad.
I mean, he got Marv with the number 1 pick, who hasn't panned out as you hoped yet, but he's been pretty good. Brian Thomas Jr., when he's playing, who's on Eddie's taxi squad, is great. Trey Benson is still behind James Conner, so he's not generally getting a lot of work. But who knows if James Conner is going to be back in Arizona next year.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. The only injuries that I could find was Alan Lazard did make the IR with a chest injury. It's weird. It's a weird chest injury is what it's been calling. The timeline is weird. I don't know. But
now that
I traded for it, he had one good week, and then he hits the IR. So that's just how the season's been going.
It's just Aaron Rodgers got Devontae Adams, so he doesn't need another ex-Packers receiver with him anymore.
I guess.
Yeah. Our next matchup was the narrowest victory. Oh, hey, that's me. I won in the most narrow victory.
Congratulations.
I won 155.76 over Joe with 142.09. I went into Monday night with Travis Kelce left to play and 3 points behind. And I was like, all right, how long are they going to stress me out with Kelce not getting a catch? And I forgot what I was doing Monday night, but I didn't turn on the game immediately. And by the time I turned on the game, he had 3 catches for 30 yards or something. I was like, oh, sweet, it's already over. This makes me happy. I don't have to watch this game for 2.5 hours before he gets the points he needs. But Joe did have the highest points in a loss with his 142. If he set his perfect lineup, he could have had 151. I could have had 169. Joe was led by running backs, 23.5 points from J.K. Dobbins and Alvin Kamara with 24.5. My team actually, the Chargers went off and had 22.57, but I didn't have a whole lot of giant performances other than that. I mean, Josh Allen had 23, but his projection was 22.8.
All your entire team just a few points over projection, but you hit your projection. That's what I saw with that.
Yeah, I mean, my projection on the week was 150.54. I scored 155.76. So
you had we'll talk about in a second. You had one underperformer, but with the Chargers overperforming and everything evened out.
Right. So Joe got let down by Nick Chubb. I got let down by Breece Hall, which is why Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams, we both talked about, had big days. Well, when that happens. And once again, I am obviously disappointed by Breece Hall with 8.5 points, but it's better than somebody who came in and gave me 0.
Or 3 or 4.
Almost 10 points as a floor. Okay, I can live with.
In our league, the Dynasty style league, you have to stick with Breece Hall.
Yeah.
If I would have picked Breece Hall, 2nd or 3rd overall in a redraft league, I'd be pissed. He hasn't performed. He's had 3 good games out of the 9 so far, if
something
that.
like that, 3 or 4.
And some of the games he's only had a couple points.
Yeah.
But obviously you stick with him in the Dynasty style. In hopes that you can, get him going towards the end of the season, and then next year, obviously, with him on your team. But
he's about half and half right now. I'm looking 15, 20, 15, 3, 5, 20, 23, and the last 2 weeks he's had 8.4 and 8.5. So it's about half and half.
Yeah.
But definitely not what I was hoping for when I
not in
traded away some good assets for it.
Right. Bench heroes for Joe. He could have started Josh Downs. That was really his best option. He had one receiver that didn't do very well. It could have given, but he wasn't going to win either way. Aaron could have started Kareem Hunt over Breece Hall and hit his projection over his projection.
Got another 10 points, but
that's not the likelihood of that's not going to happen.
I'm not starting Kareem Hunt over. Like, I started DeAndre Swift over Kareem Hunt, and I could have maybe gone the other way on that decision. But Breece Hall, that's not a question.
Exactly. Chris Olave left the game with concussion. It didn't look very good.
Oh, it was horrible.
It was terrible. He's probably going to be out this week.
Oh, he's definitely. Because this is his 5th documented concussion since college. And
funny how you only hear about Tua, but
yeah. But did you hear about Michael Thomas going off on Twitter about Derek Carr?
Not a whole, but yes.
He went off talking about how garbage Derek Carr is and how he's basically going to get a player killed. He threw the ball high over the middle. That's why Olave, like, he went off on him. But I mean, like, Chris Olave was going after a hospital ball, and guess what? Guy ended up in a hospital.
Like, and I don't think he's doing it on purpose.
No, he just sucks.
He's probably a garbage quarterback, but like, protect your players, man.
Yeah. All right. Last matchup: Janelle with 111.64 versus Jason Freeman, who with 129.4. Janelle could have put up 122. Jason could have put up 146. Booms, Janelle was finally led by Pat Mahomes. What a concept. 24.54 points. And Caden Ellis, 19.5 points. I had to go look up who Caden Ellis was. I thought this was a typo Drew made. And, like, who the hell is Caden Ellis? Apparently, he's a linebacker for the Falcons. I had no clue, but had 19.5 fantasy points. That's a good day for a defender.
Yeah.
Jason, once again, led by Jalen Hurts with that was the last week that he had 3 rushing touchdowns. But Jalen Hurts had a good day, 29.9 fantasy points. Zay Flowers blowing up, 27.2. And Chuba Hubbard with 20.2 as well.
It's really sad that my whole year is based off of Zay Flowers beating you because I picked Zay Flowers over Calvin Ridley. It's the only thing I have going for me right now.
But just to mention, Chuba Hubbard, just today they announced Jonathan Brooks has been added to the 53-man roster. So the rookie running back, who is the first running back taken, is now going to be joining the Panthers. So this season is nothing for them, so I don't think they're going to give him a giant workload, but it's definitely going to mean Chuba's not getting the whole thing like he used to, and it's probably going to hurt a bit.
Yeah. Hey, give it a couple weeks, but then he's not going out there getting the ground and pound right away. Like, it'll be a couple weeks, but yeah.
Busts for Janelle, Jonathan Taylor, only 7.4 points. And then Puka only had 2.6 because, as we talked about earlier, he was ejected for throwing a punch that was just so stupid. And
was it really a punch, though?
It was a punch.
It was a closed fist slap.
That's okay, fine, whatever. He got ejected for his closed fist slap in the helmet, which is just smart. Anyways, total side note, like, I remember when my sister was in high school, she had a friend. There was a football game, and during the game, some players started getting a fight. For some reason, this moron, who was her friend, took his helmet off to go get involved in the fight and ended up getting hit in the head with his own helmet because he took it off. Leave the helmet on, smart guy. Anyway, sorry, that was just total tangent there. So Jason had Michael Wilson give him 0 points. The Cardinals are so confusing this year. So anyways, yeah.
Yes.
Bench heroes for Janelle.
Yeah, I got bench heroes for Janelle. She could have started Jordan Addison and gotten 13.5 points out of him. Jason could have had Jerry Jeudy and given him a couple extra points. Injuries for the teams. I don't really see anything that's nothing new. Just the same old injuries for both of those managers.
Fair enough. All right, so that's all our matchups for the week. Standings update. Number 1 and number 2 stayed the same. Steve and Jason both got 2 wins, moving them both to 14-4. With my 2 wins, I moved up to 3rd place now at 11-7. Adrian, with his big week, actually managed to jump 3 spots from 7th to 4th. So him and Josh are tied at 10-8, but Adrian has the tiebreaker. So Josh is now 5. He moved down from 3 before this week. Janelle moved from 5 to 6. She's 9-9. Joe and Raph are both 9-9, but Joe has the tiebreaker at the moment. He actually moved from 8th to 7th. Raph moved from 6th to 8th with 2 losses. And then actually teams 9 through 12 all stayed in the same order. The only difference is the record. Drew and Neil are 7-11, and Jason, Smith, and Eddie are both 4-14. And they should be, well, Eddie's doesn't have any older assets much at this point. If not, he should be selling them. Jason put everybody on the trade block, yet nobody made a trade with him yet.
He doesn't have anybody to trade for.
I mean, like, it depends on what you believe. I mean, Amari Cooper, he put out there. He put Debo out there.
Right, but
David Montgomery.
Yeah.
So if you're one of these top 6 teams, or you're, 8, 4, 5 through 8, and you want to get into the playoffs, start looking.
Yeah. So if I'm correct me if I'm wrong. If it ends now, Steve plays Janelle, Jason F play no. How does it work? I don't remember.
So 6 teams go to the championship. So 1 and 2 get the bye.
1 and 2 get the bye.
1 and 2 get a bye. So 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5.
4 plays 5. Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I don't feel like you want to play Steve. If the playoffs start now, like, you don't want to play Steve. He's the consistency there, so you kind of want to get him later on, not right away. But
yeah.
So maybe that tells you if you want to, like, win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1.
Yeah, if I can finish 3rd, I think that means I wouldn't have to play him until the championship game.
Right.
Yeah. So anyways, waivers ran this morning. I thought about putting in a big bid on Cooper Rush just to mess with Jason, but I didn't. I feel slightly bad. I don't feel bad. When him and I made our trade with our whole quarterback situation, right? Like, the next week, Tua went out. And when I sent him Justin Fields, I thought Justin Fields was not going to be a starter. And then Justin Fields was a starter for like 4 or 5 more weeks.
Right.
Then Justin Fields is no longer a starter. Now Dak is hurt. So at first I was upset that I only had like 1 useful quarterback instead of 2. Now I have 2 useful quarterbacks and he has 0. Like, it's been like, the only good news for him is he got David Montgomery out of the deal, who's been fantastic. And I mean, he got Jordan Mason, who has been
his
good.
Quarterback situation didn't pan out the way that he thought that it was going to.
Oh, no. But anyways, Jason won it with a $20 bid. The only other bid out there was Eddie for $9. It's one of those things where if this was a super flex, that might have gone very differently to make sure you had a starting quarterback.
Right.
Steve got Nick Westbrook-Akine for $3. Jason Freeman also put in a $0 bid on that. Raph got Amari DiMarcado, who I will never have on a team again after last year. Drew and I and his whole situation last year, never again.
No. I had to look to see it. He's had 2 good weeks this year.
Well, he had like a 50-yard touchdown yesterday.
Right. And I was like, I saw him, I was just like, oh, it's Ross' problem now. Or Raph's problem now.
Yeah. Josh got Jake Moody and the Giants for $1 each, and Jason Smith also picked up Mason Rudolph. He's just trying to have somebody to start a quarterback for him.
He needs someone to put in there.
Yeah, exactly. League trades, as I mentioned, none have happened, but go start sending offers to Jason. Obviously, he needs the quarterback at this point. League trade.
Daniel Jones is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah. Not in real life.
It's not a bad idea, actually.
Not in NFL.
Hold on a second.
Yeah. Hey, no sending trade offers. You can do that in 5 minutes when we're done. Bet board, I can probably call this bet by now already. It's pretty bad. Yeah. Raph is
kind of like the Trump-Harris election.
Let's not go there. We're not doing that.
Okay.
Raph versus Jason. Jason has a commanding lead. Raph versus Joe. They've got their tied record again. We said that we needed a tiebreaker, and we determined its points for.
I came up with the tiebreaker.
Yeah, you determined its points for whether that gets agreed to. And then other big news. Want to make sure we cover. The NFL trade deadline was yesterday, the 5th, and there was actually a few trades. So the Panthers trade Jonathan Mingo and the 7th and a 7th to the Cowboys for a 4th. I'm done. Khalil Herbert traded from whatever. Khalil Herbert traded from the Bears to the Bengals for a 7th. I'm not surprised. Like the Bears had too many running backs, so the fact that they could get something for Khalil Herbert, they needed to. And the Bengals, as we mentioned, Zach Moss is probably done for the year, so they need some depth. Mike Williams, once Davante Adams showed up there, you had to figure Mike Williams was probably going to get dealt. And the Steelers have been rumored out there looking for a wide receiver. The rumors were that they were trying to get Christian Kirk and were about to finalize a deal before he broke his collarbone.
Yeah.
So they moved on and picked up Mike Williams for a 5th. Jamison Williams has finished his suspension, his 2-game suspension for his PESs, which may or may not have been Viagra. After starting 2-0 and looking dominant, the Saints had 7 straight disgusting losses, and they fired Dennis Allen. He has been horrible for a long time.
Yeah.
Good for that. And then I have news here that we said Puka was ejected, but we already talked about that.
We did.
Was there more that you wanted to talk about?
I do. So I think that football players should be able to fight like hockey players. However, there's stipulations to it, okay? If you get in the fight and you go at it and they let you do it until the one player goes to the ground, just like in hockey, then the fight's over. But you're out for the rest of that quarter. Or the next quarter, depending on the time frame.
Yeah.
Okay? So you can fight all you want, but you're going to hurt your team, okay?
Yeah.
And if you get injured, then you end up losing your part of your salary for that injury time from your team. Let fighting happen. It's fun. I love the scuffle. You want to punch a helmet? That's you get to do that, but guess what? You get to reap the benefits or the mishappens of your hand getting broken. If you miss time, you miss money. I guarantee you the fighting will go away.
Okay, I heard a better idea for the NFL that has nothing to do with fighting, but it was somebody was saying, you know how right now the tiebreaker for a playoff spot is like division record? Change it from division record to most points scored like we do in fantasy. Could you imagine? Every team's going to run up the damn score every week, and we're just going to get offense all over the place.
I mean...
somebody else came up with it. I was like, I love it.
Yeah, but I don't. That's never going to happen because there's too much injury and probability with that.
Before we run out of time, teams on bye next week: Browns, Packers, Raiders, and Seahawks. A couple of those teams have some fantasy relevant players. A couple of them not so much.
Everybody but the Browns.
The Raiders? Oh, I forgot
I
you
got
got
Bowers.
All right, fair enough.
I got the one player.
All right, fair enough. All right, so that's it for this week. We'll be back next week. Set your lineups. I can't remember. There may be an international game this weekend, but I don't have enough time to check. Maybe it's the following weekend. Either way, cheers, Drew.
Cheers.
Later.
Pretty good.